Night Show! Thank you, everyone. Welcome back to all three people still watching. None from the Indian or Asian community.
Listen, I am sure no one of the Indian community would have taken offence at me saying that their men or the men have got little willies. They've probably got it. I had a little measure up and thought, fair play, she's right. Better the women are sitting there, nodding.
You know it's bad if you're watching the show and something like that happens and you look over and your wife's going, What? Anyway, enough of this rubbish. We're going to class it up a little bit here. So we're going to talk to a broadcaster and legendary comedian here in Brisbane. Everyone, welcome to the show, Kat Davidson.
Woo!
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm very good.
Very legendary, Kat.
Yeah, I like that.
Should have that on your business card.
I might change it now.
Yeah. How are things?
Really good.
Yeah, we plugged the ladies' night.
Yes. With the best lady of them all, Mark Werner.
Yeah. He looks great in a dress.
He did. Well, he was actually hired. I called him up and I said, I need someone that doesn't look too crap in a suit. It's quite funny. And he went, sweet.
He went, I'm your man.
Yeah, you sweet talker.
How did the ladies' night go?
Really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had really good comics on the bill. We had Miss Ferguson Howe, of course, and we had the audience. I think in the first night were mostly female, but we had more and more men as I think the word passed around that no one got eaten.
This wasn't like the vagina monologues where people were going to, you bastard!
No.
Okay.
Very little man-hating going on. So by the end of it, I think we had about 120 on the final night.
Fantastic.
And pretty much 50-50 men, women, and a ball was had.
A ball was had by all, which is good. And you planning to do any more?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you had yourself and Mel Buttle.
We had Sula.
Yeah.
We had Bridget Griffith and Ting.
Right.
Throughout the evenings, and of course Mark
and Fiona.
And Fiona, a beautiful MC. Oh my God, the best of the
We'll be up
best.
in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I love you.
We'll play that for her.
Yeah, she's my favourite.
Yeah.
So it was when you put together a comedy night, you've got to have an awesome MC, which of course was Fiona. And an MC, it's a really difficult skill because you've got to be really funny, but you've got to keep the mood going for all of the comics. You've got to pick the crowd back up if someone doesn't do well, which thankfully Fee didn't have to do on this show. But you've also got to be careful not to be not too amazing, but have too strong a personality. Because if you have, like it's happened to me, I've had male comics who are really blokey, who have just gone, bloke, chicks suck, here's one now. Oh, great.
Let's do that, sister.
Thanks for that.
Yeah.
So quite a skill, and she did good work.
Yeah, very good. So going back from the ladies' night, how did it start for you? Where did the comedy bug get injected?
Yeah, it's like a disease.
It is.
I didn't get inoculated early, and it got me. I started.
Could have been a lawyer.
Yeah. Really could have. Mum and Dad spent a lot of money. I did theatre sports from a very young age. I was very shy. I actually failed kindy because I refused to. Yep. Thanks, everyone. Yeah.
Way to mask your pain, you jerks.
Can I get a couch? A cushion? Because I refused to speak. I was very shy. They thought I might be not quite all there. So my parents took me to theatre when I was probably about 10 or 11 to get me out of my shell, and it worked a little too well.
Right.
So I did that, I did theatre sports, and I went to QUT to study drama. And other people's words never quite sat well with me, apart from the fact I have a terrible memory, so I couldn't remember scripts very well. There was no pot smoking going on, I promise. So then in my final year, I kind of coasted because I knew how to say the right things to get me through. And then Sean Mee, who is just a god among men, realised what I was doing and said, if you don't do something that truly terrifies you, I will fail you. So I said, well, that would be stand-up. And that was in '97. Did stand-up for the first time. I got graded on my first ever stand-up performance.
Always
Which
fun.
is harsh.
Yeah. I think if any of the comedians and anyone graded on their first one, I know I would have failed. They would have sent me back to primary school. Like, you can't even get chicken crossing the road right, son. Out of here.
I've never been so scared in my life.
Yeah.
It was just a full crowd. I knew a lot of the comics because I'd been sort of around, doing theatre sports and whatever. So it was people that I respected, a full crowd, and someone at the back with a clipboard. It was, yeah.
With a loud pen.
Yeah. 6. So you should have been holding up scores. 6, 7, distinction.
And the Germans give you a 2. Damn it! I didn't pay them enough. Oh,
yes.
So yeah, that's pretty hard. So you've been doing the trenches ever since, you know?
Yeah, I did Raw the next year, Triple J's Raw Comedy Competition. And I was actually Raw, which is rare for Raw. Yeah. And went to Melbourne and got my butt kicked, got it handed to me. Do you remember, Chris Franklin? He sang Bitch.
Yeah.
He was in my Raw final. And as soon as he started singing, we're all backstage at Town Hall, everyone's kind of, maybe I could win, maybe. As soon as he started singing, we all went, beer? Yeah. Right.
I'm going home. Yeah. And then your spot just is you crying.
Yeah, pretty much.
No,
they read out the winner and we all had to practice our surprise!
Yeah. Everyone's like, yeah.
Yeah, nice one, Chris.
You're a jerk. Congratulations.
Oh no, he's lovely. Don't say
that.
No. God no. So that was in '98, and I just kept. I love it. There's really bugger all money in it. It's not a very glamorous job, but there's nothing else quite like standing up on stage and just you, a spotlight, a microphone, and 400 drunk bogans.
It's great because, in theatre sports and in drama and stuff like that, because I come from a very theatre background myself as well, it's like, you got people you can rely on, if you forget a line, someone can feed it to you and all that stuff. Stand up. It's just you.
Yeah.
There's nobody else that can help you. If you
just the voices
blank,
in your head.
If you blank or die.
But that's kind of the joy of it, because there have been moments, thankfully been doing it for so long now that I don't tend to freeze, but I might have a glitch in the brain, and if the audience pick up on that, you can feel the intake of breath. There's that moment of, like, you could trip and fall here, and there's nothing funnier to Australians than someone tripping and falling. So that moment of panic is, it can be brilliant, and if you can come out of that with something funny, they'll fall at your feet.
It's like watching a car racing and you just see that car start to fishtail just a little bit and you're like, and they pull it off. Good on you.
It's why when you go and see, because comedians don't often laugh at other comedians, but if you see them watching open mic, they will lose it laughing, because you can see the moments when they haven't quite got the traction to get out of it, and comedians will find it hilarious.
And everyone thinks they're mental. They're like, why is that guy laughing so hard?
If the only person laughing at you is a comedian, you probably shouldn't do that bit again. It's not good.
That's when you do the old edit.
Yeah.
So how have you found it, doing Brisbane? You said, you're not going to make a lot of money at it. And the Australian audiences, as I found out, because in America, they kind of give you, all good on you, have a go. But here they're brutal. How do you handle stuff like that?
Brisbane is probably the best training ground for a comedian, because our audiences do not pull their punches. And you will get some of the roughest up here. I had a gig recently where a gentleman referred to me as the fat lesbian.
Oh.
Which, I'm not fat. So
Rumor started.
Yeah. But you end up, you come on with your boxing gloves. You kind of get good at finding ways around that, of finding ways of winning. So I think it's why Australian comics do quite well overseas, because we are match ready. We've dealt with the worst of the crowds and also the best of the crowds. There's a kind of the flip side to that, is that if you've got an Aussie audience that are enjoying a show, the love that comes back, and we laugh like crazy folk when we're happy. So it's just, I think Australia is really an honest country when it comes to stand-up.
Sometimes brutally.
When they turn, it's you really do just want to lie down and cry. Yeah.
Well, I think Arj Barker put it quite honestly. He said in person and on DVD, Australia is great because not only is it a place that someone will swear at you giving directions, but they'll also swear at you giving you a compliment. And I think that's very apt description of this country. In America, everyone's kind of polite. Oh, yes, you did okay. But here, no.
Although I saw a show in New York where they actually did it the other way around. So here in Australia, you start with the newer sort of comics and you work up to the headline who's, hopefully, if all goes well, the funniest.
Yeah.
But I saw a show in New York where it was the other way around. So it started with the headliner, and then by the time it got to the end and the waitresses were sorting out their bills, there was some poor young comic.
Poor cleanup artist.
It was just cringeworthy. And I, you know, my husband's a comedian too, so we both sat there sort of desperately trying to give them a bit of, like the rest of the audience are just, you know, not paying them any attention, paying their bill, and there's the two of us going...
He goes, "Oh, great, the crazy people like me."
Are you Australian? Yeah.
Are you going to be waiting for me when I get off stage?
We love you a lot.
We love you. I want to wear your face as a mask. That never happened. No. New York's a fantastic place for gigs like that. Comedy. New York is a lot like Melbourne in aspects where if you can make it in New York doing comedy, yeah, it's a rough crowd, but the best crowds, I think, in my opinion. I haven't performed here, so I haven't had the glory of being torn a new one in Australia yet. It's fun. Although Melbourne does get a bit of comedy fatigue because they have the comedy festival. Yeah. It happens in Montreal as well. Yeah. Because it's such a concentrated amount of comedy. I mean, there's people doing comedy in stairwells. Like it's just, you know, but only for a short amount of time. So the rest of the year, it can be difficult to get people along to see a show because for those months of the year they were able to see Arj Barker and Ross Noble on the same night. Yeah. And then, you know, come down to the last laugh to see Kat Davidson, who, I don't think so. Like it, you know, it can be difficult, whereas in Brisbane, we're all year round. Exactly. And how can people find out more about you and get in contact with you and see what you're doing?
My website is about to go live, so just look me up, katdavidson.com. You can also, pretty much if you Google me, there are 2 Kat Davidsons. Now this is yeah. One of them has had a very checkered past and may or may not have been a prostitute at some stage. That's not me.
And the other somebody else.
Yeah. The other's not funny. Yeah. So yes, anything bad is the other one.
Right, okay. That's got to be difficult. And the same, I mean, Scott Black's pretty... generic name.
It sounds like a porn name though.
It does. Everyone always goes, "Is that your real name?" Yes. Really?
I wonder if you Google us together, if we've ever done a movie together.
That would be... I'm on that. Knowing if Scott Black and porn is probably not tasteful.
Alf is probably in it somewhere, and that's not right.
You just ruined it, Paul. I can't even look at you. All right, well, thank you very much for being on. You're going to stick around for the rest of the show?
Yeah, just try and get rid of me.
People can check you out on Facebook as well?
Yes, Facebook.
Twitter?
I'm Radio Kat D on Twitter. Look me up.
And you're on the radio as well?
I am for the ABC.
Oh, very classy.
Yes.
Yes, because you and Mel just did covered for Richard Fidler.
Richard Fidler, yeah, we did 3 weeks of afternoon. I think we gave the ABC audiences a bit of a shock. 2 young women on
Richard
the ABC.
Fidler to you and Mel.
They came good.
Yeah, they enjoyed it very much. Well, thank you very much for being on the show, and you'll be hanging out with us when we'll be back with more of the Late Night Show and Shane Downey right after the break.